Hello everyone. Welcome to my new spin-off series called Fanfiction with Arceus. I'm going to be reading fanfictions that I find on the internet to you, and I'd like to see what you guys have to say about them. First fanfiction that I'm going to be reading that has 17 full chapters. It's by John Roy Smith, and it's called Spike's Sexual Revolution. I have this all copied down on paper, so in case I forget something, I can refer to this. Now, let's get into this. But before we get into this, if you all want to know why I'm wearing these, it's because, well, I can't show my real face. Ah, hell, what the fuck am I kidding? So, let's get reading. Chapter 1, The Bet. Spike, Snips, and Snails were hanging out in the basement of the library. Spike enjoyed hanging out with the guys every once in a while. Twilight and her friends were okay, but he needed to get away and hang out with the guys. Today, Snails had some sort of big announcement he wanted to tell them. "Alright, Snails, we're here. What did you have to tell us?" Spike said anxiously. Yeah, don't keep us in suspense, bro," Snip said. Was also curious to know what the big news was, especially since Snails told him everything. "You guys gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay?" "Sure," Spike and Snails said. "Bro, promise me you can't tell anyone," Snails said, trying to look serious. The bro promise could not be broken. They all knew the penalty for breaking the sacred bro promise. Fluffytails broke the sacred bro promise and was forced to undergo the divine punishment, skipping through town in a dress singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." What? What the fuck? I don't find that humiliating. Except it depends on the dress. It's good. Sorry. It was ultimate humiliation. Unfortunately, Puppytails decided that the divine punishment felt right and never took off the dress. He continued to skip and sing it through the town. They kind of stopped hanging out with him after that. Spike and Snails placed their right hoof/hand over their hearts and the left over their crotches. "We promise on our brohood," Spike and Snails said together. "I am proud to announce that I am a full-fledged man." "You mean Twist finally let you go all the way?" Snip said. Wow, you managed to bang the ugliest filly in town. Way to go, Snails," Spike said, his words dripping with sarcasm. Every day Snails would come and gush over his stupid girlfriend. Spike was sick of it. "Don't make fun of her, Snail. She's beautiful," Snail said, absolutely pissed. He was ready to jump across the table and pound Spike's face in. Unfortunately, Snip stepped in to cool things off. Come on, Spike. That was uncool for you. Besides, it's not like you've ever kissed a girl," Snip said, trying to defend his goofy friend. "I've kissed plenty of girls," Spike lied. "Twilight doesn't count, dude," Snail said. Was unusually quick with that one. It hit Spike right where it hurt. Twilight was the only girl who ever kissed him, and he knew it didn't count. "I can prove it tomorrow. Let's each bring a girl to the basement. Snips will judge who's cuter," Spike said. He wasn't going to be one-upped by Snails. Spike took his pride after all. Had his pride after all. "Fine. Loser has to do the divine punishment," Snails said, glaring at Spike. Spike started to falter. He realized he didn't know any girls that would kiss him, or even come down to the basement and lie for him. He spent all his time chasing Rarity, and he was no closer than when he came to Ponyville. Still, though, he couldn't back down. "I hope you like pink, Snails," Spike spit in his hands. "I hope you like skipping," Snail said, spit in his hoof, and they shook on it. Then it's settled. We meet back here this time tomorrow. Each guy brings a girl to the basement. May the best guy guy with the best girl wins, Snips declared. Spike was going over what just happened after Snips and Snails left. Why did he have to go and challenge Snails like that? What was he going to do? He was going to lose and end up skipping through town in a pink dress. This sucks, Spike said aloud. Suddenly he had a realization. Snails managed to get a girl to bang him, and Spike could do way better than Twist. He walked into the bathroom and looked into the mirror. Looking good, Spike. Looking real good, he said to his reflection. Spike walked out of the library with newfound confidence. He decided to go after the next filly he saw. He was deep in thought, trying to come up with a pickup line when he bumped into someone. It was a filly wearing a beautiful tiara. She was pretty cute. Watch it, you! Diamond Tiara was about to insult when she realized she had bumped into Spike. I'm sorry, I wasn't watching where I was going, Spike said. No, it's totally my fault, Spike, Diamond Tiara said, with blushing like crazy. Why'd she have to bump into him right now? This couldn't have been at the worst time. Spike remembered her from the talent show. She was pretty cute. She was full on blushing, and it made her look even cuter than before. A devious idea popped into Spike's head at that moment. If he played his cards right, Snails would be the one skipping through town in a dress. It's Diamond Tiara, right? I was wondering if you wanted to hang out later. Spike figured he could win easy if he had a girl like this on his arm tomorrow. Tonight? She really did want to go out with him. She wanted to go out with him ever since he came to town. Why did he have to ask her now? Did he know? How could he know? She'd been so careful not to let it show. Maybe dragons could tell that sort of thing. I understand if you're busy, Spike said, looking dejected. Did he read into things too much? Diamond Tiara cursed her luck. The dragon of her dreams finally asked her out, and she asked to turn him down. She couldn't blow this opportunity, though. If she said no, he might never ask again. He might even hate her. Wait, sure, I'd love to, she said, smiling. Maybe she could hide it just for one date. All right, I'll pick you up at 8, Spike said. He was ecstatic. I can't wait, she said, trying to calm down. Her heart was beating out of her chest for all the wrong reasons. Maybe it would go away before then, she thought to herself, as she watched Spike walk away. Spike had put on his best suit. He didn't want anything to go wrong tonight. He began to wonder if he was a little too excited about his date. He was just trying to get a kiss, so he could win the bet, right? It would be nice to go after a girl who treated him with some genuine romantic interest. Going after Rarity had only netted him more work. This was his chance to spend time with the girl who didn't just use him. And maybe it was time to move on. Rarity wasn't interested, and Diamond Tiara was. Why waste his time chasing after a lost cause? He looked in the mirror and faced his bow tie. Oh, I'm sorry, Rarity. This dragon is taken, he said with mock worry. And may I ask who he's taken with? Twilight said with a chuckle. Spike jumped as he realized he wasn't alone. If you must know, Twilight, I have a date for the evening with Diamond Tiara, Spike said proudly. Oh, Twilight said, remembering her from her cutie mark party. Spike wasn't there because he wanted to sleep in. He didn't want to see Diamond Tiara on her worst day. Do you know her, Twilight? Spike said excitedly. We've been introduced, to say the least. What's she like? Spike said, looking at her with those eyes, expecting something positive. She's very confident in herself, she said hesitantly. I'm glad to see you like her, Twilight. Well, wish me luck. Twilight tried to smile. Spike liked this filly. She must have some good qualities. Be back by 10, Romeo, Twilight called as Spike ran off to his date. Diamond Tiara sat in her room, trying to concentrate on something else besides her body. It didn't help. She had neglected to mention she was in heat while Spike asked her out. It was her first time at The worst time for a female pony, her date with Spike made it worse. The thought of his presence in her home made her shiver with anticipation. She didn't want Spike to see her like this. She didn't want him to come. She wanted to shoo him away before she did something she regretted. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Spike stood at the door, checking himself to make sure that everything he needed. Suit? Check. He looked over himself. He looked great. Bits? Check. He had planned a fancy dinner at a restaurant in town. He was going all out. Flowers? Check. A full bouquet of red roses in his hand. He wanted to make a good impression, and flowers seemed like the right choice. Charming personality? Double check. Spike knew he was ready. He knocked on the door and prepared to face his date. I'm coming, Diamantero said, and ran to the door and told herself not to lose control. She opened the door and found herself face to face with Spike. Hello, milady. Your date for the evening has arrived, Spike said, putting on the charm as he greeted his date, handing her the flowers. He immediately noticed that she was blushing again. She must be even more nervous than before. Come in, I'm still getting ready, she said, trying not to look Spike in the eye. She took the bouquet in her mouth and ushered Spike inside to a couch. She put the flowers on a table and walked upstairs. Spike was sitting on the couch, admiring the extravagant surroundings. The place was littered with expensive art and statues. Even the couch looked like it cost $1 million bits. He began to wonder what her parents did for a living. They probably weren't here, or would have met him by now. He'd have to ask when she came back down. 10 minutes passed. Then half an hour. Spike wondered what happened to Diamond Tiara, as she should be down or at least said something. He walked upstairs and heard moaning coming from a nearby room. Diamond Tiara? Spike called out. No answer, just more moaning. He pushed open the door and saw Diamond Tiara on her bed with both hooves between her legs, rubbing furiously at herself. Snails said something about rubbing twists there one time. Spike thought it was totally gross, the way Snips described it. But watching Diamond Tiara now, he didn't feel grossed out at all, but curious. Something was stirring deep inside him. Spike watched Diamond Tiara through the partially closed door. He leaned forward a little too far and fell on the door, causing him to stumble into the room. She stopped and covered herself with the sheets. They stared at each other for what seemed to have been ages. I'm sorry, I'll go, Spike said. Was about to run out from the room and heard her when he called her out. When he heard her call out. Wait, please don't go, Spike. Didn't know what made him turn around. Maybe it was the pleading tone. Or maybe it was just his natural curiosity. He walked into the room and saw Diamond Tiara crying. Spike, I don't want you to see me like this. I understand if you never want to talk to me again. She looked away from Spike, embarrassed. Spike felt like he had to do something to make this right. He couldn't stand to leave anyone crying like that, but what could he do? Spike wasn't exactly experienced when it came to this sort of thing. He had never been in this kind of situation. He couldn't just stand there, so he walked over towards the bed. He hopped on her bed and turned her head towards his. He wanted her to look at him. Diamond Tiara, he looked into her eyes and just moved in for a kiss. Spike didn't know if that made things better or worse. As soon as he looked into big blue eyes, it suddenly came to him that was what she wanted. He thought she wasn't enjoying it at first until she started to kiss him back. Things started to pick up when Spike pushed Diamond Tiara down and kissed her with more fervor than ever. He started to feel her tongue enter his mouth. She pulled back a bit and looked at the young man laying over her. Young man? young dragon laying over here. Her. Spike, you're rubbing against me. Spike looked down and saw his erect purple cock poking her in the side. I'm sorry, Spike said, looking away. He was trying to make her feel better. He didn't want to seem like he was enjoying it too much. Don't be. Could you? Diamond stopped. She didn't want to say it out loud in front of him. She didn't need to, though, because Spike was already removing the cover from her lower body. She thought about all those fantasies from earlier. They were nothing compared to the real thing. Spike positioned himself between her legs. He could clearly see her dripping thing. She was ready for him. This was what she wanted. It was what he wanted. He slowly pushed his genitals against the slit. She moaned and Spike thought she was in pain. He stopped and looked down at her with concern. Please, be gentle, Spike. It's my first time, Diamond said, staring into his eyes. Spike nodded and kissed her deeply before grabbing his thing and aimed for her genitals once again. He moved his wang inside slowly. He heard her moaning as he pushed himself further inside. He felt her insides wrap around him. The sensation was absolutely amazing. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Diamond noticed how hot he was inside of her. He felt the boy's own warmth spread throughout her body as he pushed ever deeper. Were all boys like this? Or just boy dragons? She didn't care right now. She couldn't remember ever feeling as good as she did right now. The young dragon started to thrust a bit. Each time he went a little deeper. She would moan and sigh with each thrust. Spike, you can move a little faster if you want. She was gasping for breath. Spike pushed in deeper and faster than ever. He met with little resistance as he moved further and deeper. The walls of the young filly enveloped his entire length of his wang. She started to scream as Spike started to build into a rhythm. Diamond could feel Spike growing warmer. She felt like she was on fire with every thrust. She felt herself getting closer to satisfaction. She was screaming in pure ecstasy. Every time he pushed himself inside, as she felt her mind slowly slipping, she felt like she was going to melt. She looked at Spike, who was focused on the task with such intensity. All Spike could hear was Diamond screams of pleasure and the slapping noise from his constant thrusting. Suddenly he felt Diamond thing clench as he stopped and felt her entire body convulse as she came. He continued to pump his hip a few more minutes before he felt himself release a warm flood of semen inside of her. Spike laid next to Diamond Tiara. They were silently holding each other for the longest time before she finally said something. Thank you, Spike. You have no idea how much that means to me, Diamond Tiara said, nuzzling Spike's neck. She was no longer in heat thanks to Spike. I should be thanking you. That was totally awesome, he said, hugging her closely. Spike, can I ask you a question? Sure, ask me anything. Why'd you ask me all of a sudden? If Spike were a smarter dragon, he would have lied his purple tail off, and still would have been allowed to plow Diamond Tiara till the cows or her parents came home. Unfortunately, Spike wasn't a smarter dragon. He told her everything about how asking her out was part of his bet with Snails. Suffice to say, Diamond Tiara wasn't exactly pleased. Spike found himself victim to a barrage of blows as the filly proceeded to throw out Spike out of her home. He tried to apologize, but it was hard to seem sincere when someone threw a strong right hoof across your jaw. As Spike ran out of the house, he heard Diamond Tiara cursing and screaming about how she never wanted to see his stupid jerk face again. What a bitch! Well, Spike, you blew it. Big time, he said aloud to himself while walking home under the night sky. All of a sudden, he heard someone land behind him as he walked home. It was Princess Luna with a curious look upon her face. "Hey, Spike, I saw everything that happened down there. Do you want to talk about it?" Luna asked. Spike wasn't exactly in a sharing mood, but he told her everything that happened. The bet, the date, everything else. It felt kind of good to get everything out in the open. "And that's how I screwed up the best thing that ever happened to me," Spike said after explaining the entire ordeal. He looked at Princess Luna, who had taken a surprising interest to his story. Instead of agreeing with him, how stupid and jerky his reasons were, she got excited and said something he didn't expect to hear. "Spike, you're perfect," she said, jumping up. "What? Did you hear my story? I'm the biggest jerk in the world," the dragon said, looking at Princess Luna like she was an alien creature. "No, well, yeah, that was a pretty jerky thing to do, but Spike, you're the one I need for my plan to save Ponyville." Spike was at full attention as Princess Luna mentioned Ponyville needing saving. "Save Ponyville? How am I going to save Ponyville?" Spike wondered. That was going on inside the Alicorn's head. What was going on? That's what I'm asking. What's going on inside her head? "Spike, haven't you ever noticed something strange about Ponyville?" she asked, turning serious. "No, you're going to have to explain to me," Spike said, thoroughly confused by now. "I'm not surprised that you don't see it, Spike. Even the people of Ponyville are blind to the peril they face." "Let me show you, Spike." Princess Luna's eyes started to glow. Spike saw a bright light as he closed. When he opened his eyes, he wondered where they were. The buildings were in horrible shape. A bunch of old ponies were walking around. Everything looked run down and out of shape. It's like everyone in town stopped caring. "Spike, this is Ponyville's future," Luna said. "What happened? It looks so abandoned." Spike saw that the town that he enjoyed living in was broken and drained of all energy. "There are no children, Spike," Princess Luna said, looking completely serious. Spike looked around and noticed the town had no children. He still didn't see what caused Ponyville to fall into such despair. Luna realized that Spike wasn't getting it. "Tell me, Spike, what do you see when you notice a couple in Ponyville?" Spike thought hard about the question. He had seen tons of couples in Ponyville. He really didn't pay much attention, though. He shrugged his shoulders at the princess. "I'll just come out and say it," Luna said plainly. "As you know, Ponyville is a predominantly female community. This in itself will not cause such a future to occur. But an event occurred in the distant past that caused the vast majority of females to become interested in same-sex relations." "Oh, I get it, because lesbian couples can't have kids. There aren't any around in the future," Spike said, finally catching on. "Yes, that's right, Spike. Without any young people around, the old must work longer and harder than ever to keep Ponyville running. Take a good look. The remaining population of Ponyville will die of old age a few years later. Ponyville will become nothing more than a ghost town after that." Princess Luna's face was one of deep melancholy. "You said something about an event in the past that caused this. Can't we go back and change it?" Spike asked. "It's not this simple. The event is the arrival of a person in Ponyville, a person who needs to be in Ponyville," Luna said, her eyes starting to glow again. Spike found himself walking through a much better-looking version of Ponyville. He finally saw a filly sitting under a tree. Spike could have swore she looked like a younger version of Shirley. "Is she the one?" Spike asked. "No, she is waiting for that person, though," Princess Luna said, looking on. Suddenly, a rainbow blur appeared over the sky, and a young Pegasus with a rainbow mane landed on top of young Shirley. The two wasted no time in jumping straight into a makeout session. "It's Rainbow Dash," Spike said. "Yes, Rainbow Dash's arrival in Ponyville caused the future we saw earlier. Without even knowing it, she caused a sexual revolution in Ponyville. Sexual revolution? Spike didn't know what that meant. Rainbow Dash's personality allows her to get close to those she likes and influence them in ways that benefit her. It's much more subdued now that she's grown up, but back then she used that trait to attract young fellas and influence their preferences. In her youth, she turned quite a few fillies, and a few of those influenced others, spread throughout the society until the future I showed you occurs. Are you saying Rainbow Dash is responsible for that bleak future? Spike asked. Luna merely nodded as they appeared back in the present once more. He now knew why they couldn't just change the past. If she kept Rainbow Dash away from Ponyville, the elements of harmony wouldn't have worked and Nightmare Moon would have covered the world in eternal darkness. Oh, eternal night. Where do I come in? How am I supposed to save Ponyville? Spike wanted to do everything he could to change the future and make sure Ponyville would be even better. Rainbow Dash broke the balance. In order to restore it, we need a young male to start a sexual revolution in Ponyville. That's where you come in, Spike, Princess Luna said, started smiling at Spike. He wasn't sure he could do it. He was no Rainbow Dash. How am I supposed to accomplish that? If you hadn't noticed, I just blew Diamond Tiara no less than an hour ago. My jaw's still kind of sore from that right she gave me. Spike thought about the disaster that was his date. He ruined that relation so fast it had to be a new record. Probably is. That probably is a new record. You'll have something that Rainbow Dash doesn't have, Spike. You'll have me. I'll gather information and teach you everything you need to know about girls, Princess Luna said proudly. I don't know, Spike said. Come on, Spike. You managed to pet a filly on your very first date without even trying. You should give yourself a little more credit, lover boy. She saw Spike stick out his chest and smile. He definitely looked more confident already. Alright, maybe I can do this. I can totally save Ponyville. I am gonna need one favor, though, Spike said aloud. The next day. Snips, Snails, and Twist were walking to the library. Snips and Snails were whispering to each other about the bet. They were extra careful not to let Twist know what's up. Do you think he brought a girl? Snips whispered to Snails. He couldn't get a girl that fast. He's totally gonna lose the bet, dude. Just watch, Snails whispered back. What are you guys whispering about? Twist said, eyeing the two suspiciously. Nothing. We're just talking about meeting Spike, Snails said. Yeah, I can't believe you haven't met him, Snips said. Why are you introducing me to now? Twist asked. He didn't feel like his friends. He didn't tell his friends about what they did. She made him promise not to tell. It was supposed to be their own secret. Snails couldn't think of anything. He looked at Snips with a look of that was begging for help. Snails told me he meant that so much. He just wanted to meet all his friends. Snip came to the rescue, and Twist seemed satisfied with the explanation. That's so sweet of you, Snails, Twist said, nuzzling a bit. Ugh, gag. They walked into the basement and saw Spike waiting alone at the bottom. Snails smiled as he saw Spike standing there by himself. Spike didn't look too worried, though. Hey, Spike, I thought you were bringing your girlfriend, Snails said, asked the dragon, who only cracked a smile. Ladies and gentle colts, I would like to introduce to you Moonbeam, my girlfriend, Spike announced as a beautiful unicorn filly with a crescent moon cutie mark teleported into the room. Snips bent towards Snails and whispered, Spike totally wins. Spike totally wins. Moonbeam, I'd like to introduce you to my friends, Spike said proudly. It's nice to meet you. I'm Peppermint Twist. You can call me Twist, though. Twist felt like she had seen her before. She looked like Princess Celestia's sister, only younger. I'm Snips, he said, slowly shaking her hoof. Moonbeam had to tear her hoof away from the coal. Are you really his girlfriend? Snails said accusingly. Snails, you're being rude. Apologize right now, Twist demanded. Snails didn't look like he was about to back down, though. Of course I am. Watch this. Moonbeam launched into a kiss that he didn't expect to be so good. She planted her lips square onto his. He didn't know how long it lasted. Despite it being his second kiss, he had to say it was the best hands down. Still he moved away from Spike as he tried not to look surprised by the fact that his girlfriend had kissed him. But he never talked about having a girlfriend before, and I never saw you before. Snails was trying to figure out how Spike had scored a girlfriend. I live in Canterlot. I was so sad when my little Spikey left for Ponyville. But he invited me over for a visit, and I couldn't resist popping in. I can't believe you didn't tell them. I can't believe he didn't tell you about me. Moonbeam's smiling face became sad. If she had realized something. Spike, why didn't you tell your friends about me? Are you ashamed of me? I get it, there's someone else, isn't there? What? I wanted to... It's just the right time never came up, Spike said, looking utterly confused as she started accusing him of cheating. You've been here for a year. What do you mean it never came up? I bet you've been chasing some other unicorn, haven't you? My mother warned me about boys like you, Moonbeams said, looking absolutely pissed. On the inside, she was having a lot of fun playing along with Spike. Spike's been chasing Rarity ever since he came to town, actually, Twist spoke up. She wasn't going to let Spike get away with being a player. Snips and Snails just stood there watching the drama play itself out. Rarity? You've been cheating on me with an older woman? I can't believe it. I trusted you. I gave myself to you. Moonbeam started to cry. Spike had to remind himself that this was all an act because he actually started to feel bad. I didn't do anything with Rarity. I'm sorry if I hurt you. It's nothing. She doesn't even like me. You're the only one for me. Honest. Spike was starting to get into it as well. If she was going for an all-out performance, he would too. You say that to all the fillies. You're just some player boy, Moonbeam said, turning away from Spike dramatically. Spike pulled her head back towards him as he stared into her eyes. Moonbeam, I never meant to hurt you. I love you. If you take me back, I can make you so happy again, Spike said, looking into her eyes. The words just came to him. It was like he could see what she wanted just by looking into her eyes. He would never come up with this stuff on his own. Spike, I don't know if I can, Moonbeam. Moonbeam was staring into Spike's eyes. It felt as though he was staring into her soul. It was like he could see everything about her in her eyes. She had no idea what he was doing. He was plucking everything she wanted to hear out of her head. Could you try? For us? Spike moved in and gave her a small kiss. He thought doing would have such a big impact. Princess Luna wasn't sure if it was her heart or Moonbeam's that was pounding after that kiss. I'm sorry, Spike. I can't trust you anymore, the unicorn said, starting to cry before she spoke again. Goodbye, Spike. With that, Moonbeam teleported, leaving the purple dragon. Seemingly confused, he said what she wanted. Spike stood there with his mouth open, pretending to be stunned by what just occurred. Twist, Snips, and Snails decided to leave Spike alone to gather his thoughts. As soon as they left, Princess Luna teleported back in the room in her true form. She saw Spike smile as he watched his friends leave. Worked like a charm, he said, as they congratulated the other. Now every filly in town will be talking about you, Spike. It'll be much easier to attract them now. I bet that... And the bat is no longer an issue, Spike added. If he was seen skipping through town in a dress, it would be impossible to start his revolution. Hey, how did you know what I wanted to say back there? I don't know, I just looked into your eyes and the words just came to me. Spike, that's amazing. You can read people's thoughts by staring into their eyes? Mrs. Luna said. I guess I can. I didn't notice I was using it until I looked into your eyes, Spike said casually. Luna blushed, remembering those green eyes staring into her. It felt so intense. Anyway, I think it's time we talked about your living arrangements, Luna said. Why? Spike, do you think you can bet a filly here in the library with Twilight studying and your tiny basket? She had a point. Spike needed his own place if he was going to do this. The library wouldn't cut it. He needed something every man needed if he wanted to be successful with the ladies. You're right, I'm definitely going to need a bachelor pad set, Spike said. But then he thought about Twilight. She would definitely be against the idea of him living alone. What about Twilight? He asked Luna. Don't worry, Spike. I thought of that too. Well, what are we waiting for, Princess? I got a revolution to start! And that, my friends, was Chapter 1 of Spike's Sexual Revolution. I hope that you tune in next time for the next reading of Chapter 2, Double Date. Well, see y'all!